women putting themselves on display like meat in a butcher's window don't get taken to the altar usually. They get taken to the slaughterhouse. And, a lot of women will say, well, why do men care about our past? And men act carnal and pride.
First of all, bro is jacked. What's your chest routine, bro? Because I'm Karen.
Also, I think a lot of ladies see us that way, when in reality, men are rational, tactical, future-based thinkers by design, constantly analyzing effort needed and the potential return on investment. If a woman doesn't protect herself, her innate femininity, her purity, her innocence, why would we think that you're going to protect our kids? Or why would we think you're going to respect our leadership when it doesn't seem like you even respect yourself? You're going to put yourself in all these wild situations and play victim like it's someone else's problem to clean up. And you know what? The more masculine the guy, the more traditional, the higher value that guy is, the more that he's built, the higher those standards become. Because for men, unfortunately, value isn't innate. It's not built in. It needs to be built, created. And that journey definitely doesn't happen overnight for guys. It usually takes a decade plus to develop the character, the skills, the security, the resources, the high value things that women want.
He is absolutely 100% correct. Not because I want to see his actual chess routine, but because of the fact that he's speaking facts. The guy is talking absolute facts. Men generally, when they're looking for women, are heavy investors. They're Warren Buffett in the situation, left, right, and center. We're looking at every single little detail. We're looking at every single minute crumb of information that's going to give us a clear idea on who we have in front of us, who this person could potentially be. And I'm not going to say all men do this, because not all men are equipped with the skill set to be able to do this, but the majority of men have this inbuilt to a certain degree. We want to know what's happened in the past to give us an idea of what this, let's talk about it in stocks. For those people that invest in stocks, you need to know everything about the stock. You need to know everything about who is in the actual company. You need to know everything about how it's trended over the last years and years and years to see if it's going to be up and down when you want to, if it's something you're going to hold for a long term or if it's something you're going to cash out on very quickly. You need to do that. Same way men think about women. They look at the little things that they do, and it's not always what women tell them that they're going to base some of their decisions on. You're going to, we notice the littlest things about women. Sometimes some guys act on it. Other guys are like, well, I'm cool with it. There's always a guy I'm cool with it, but there's not so many of those guys around. And those relationships don't end up often being the most fruitful relationships. And they often aren't the guys that these women actually want to be with. Women generally are not turned on by guys that are cool with everything. They like a man that's got some type of boundaries. They like a man that's got some type of standard. Because generally, those are the high-performing men. Men that have boundaries, standards, goals, they often come with the additional things that women sometimes don't want to deal with. They often come with the additional things that women run into and they say, okay, that's a bit of toxic masculinity. When really and truly, the man is just saying, listen, these are my standards in terms of how I want to live my life. And I'm sure you've got your standards in terms of how you want to live your life as well. And we should both sides should have standards. Both people should be coming in and thinking, damn, I want to impress this person. Both people should be coming in and having criteria in terms of what the other person needs to be. If you're not coming in with some level of criteria, if you got one party, i.e. the man that's coming in and turning around and saying, well, I'll accept every and anything that you do. I accept any and everything that you did in your past. I'll overlook it. Then really, truly, how much does he actually care about you in the first place? Because guess what? The things we go through shape who we are and who we end up being. And some things we have to deal with. Some things we have to end up going through again, reliving, hashing it out and understanding before we can actually move on to the next point. Sometimes you have to deal with things properly. Sometimes you can't just put it to the back of your mind and just park it and say, well, I did this. I lived life this way in my 20s, in my 30s, and now I'm 40. Well, It doesn't matter. Everything matters. Everything you go through matters. It shows up at some point in the way that you act, in what you think, in what you believe. And if you are planning to get into a relationship with someone, specifically a woman, as a man, you're thinking to yourself, the way she is and everything she's been through, everything she's learned or not learned, she's going to be passing that on to your child. And that's how men evaluate things. They're constant fixers. They're constant evaluators. They're constant risk assessors. So they assess the risk that the woman's past or the way she is poses on what their future is going to be. And they try and mitigate that risk in any way, shape, or form they can to ensure that they can get the best outcome from said relationship. That's how men operate. Women need to understand that. If they want a man that they are going to be proud of, they're going to be happy with in the long term, that's how he should be operating. If your man ain't like that, you need to ask some questions, but we carry on.
We're not being flown around, being taken care of, treated to some lavish lifestyle at 21 because we're cute. And here's where things get confusing for women. It's part of the problem, and social media has really amplified it because men will often sleep with women if they know they can. They can sniff out weak boundaries, but very, very rarely does an A-class, high-earning, masculine man, choose that woman to be the one that gets to meet mom or gets wifed up. Because there's a stack of receipts and often bodies behind her that reek of weak choices, saying that she's not wife material. And for rational men who have sacrificed to build themselves from age 20 to 35 plus, it just starts to look like a bad ROI. And the type of guy that women say they want, they can smell promiscuous women from a mile away. So while they might use her, that's all they're interested in. Call it unfortunate, I'll call it reality. More often than not these days, the loud collective are the most traumatized women saying, well, there's no good guys left. I deserve a masculine man, a high value man.
And just to piggyback off that, I think one of the big problems we see in society right now is everyone pretending that they want what the other person has and not willing to put in the effort, not willing to actually go the extra mile to get what it is they say they want, and just piggybacking off what people say they want when you actually don't want that. A lot of women don't want to be in relationships, but they turn around and say they want a relationship because that's what society tells them they should be saying. When really and truly, if they were honest with themselves, they'll realize that I'm not built for a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship. And they'll pretend that it's the guys that are the ones lying to them when they're really lying to themselves. If you are in the club every single weekend, if you feel to be at every single event, if you don't want to put in the work with your partner, then chances are you are not ready to be in a relationship, and that's okay. But you should say that. Don't pretend. You don't have to be in a relationship. It's not by force. You don't have to be in a relationship. Just because it's common for women and your girls to say, I'm in a relationship, don't be jealous of her. Just say, hey, listen, I'm happy not being in a relationship. I am ready for one of those. I don't want to be in one of those. And communicate that to the men that you're dealing with so they understand that you are not ready or willing to make the sacrifices needed to be in a relationship. You don't have to force yourself into doing something that you don't necessarily want to do, because we can see you don't want to do it. We can see you're not putting the effort in. We can see that every other guy interests you. We can see that your head's swinging around every time someone else walks into the room. We can see all of that. So really and truly, if you don't want to be in a relationship, don't pigeonhole yourself and put yourself in a specific environment with someone where you turn around and you tell them this is what you want. If you don't actually want to act in a way that is becoming of the type of person that would be in said relationship.
When the fact is, the kind of guy that you're talking about will hold you to a level of standards that you don't even hold yourself to. Just don't act surprised when the bill comes due for the decisions that you made. Because if your choices don't dictate character, if that doesn't matter, then what does? Everything you do, everything you say, everything you experience says exactly who you are. And I think I'm just saying a lot of stuff that people know is true and nobody likes to say it out loud. Some of y'all use Instagram therapy talk to avoid accountability. That's my trauma response, has become a get out of jail free card for garbage behavior. Pretending to understand why you do something isn't the same as changing it. Because you can't heal what you refuse to own. Naming your patterns without doing the work to address them is just giving your dysfunctional behavior a story that feels like a security blanket. Women.
Listen, he has spoken pure facts. I can't poke a hole in anything that he's saying. Ultimately, people will make the decisions that they're making, and it's up to the actual person that gets with said person to make the decision on whether that person is a good fit for them. So at the end of the day, you got to make choices, guys. You got to make choices. If you feel like someone doesn't match up to what you want, it all kind of boils down to you in terms of the opposite sex. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with in terms of what he said and what I said. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.